Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Craig Burrell, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Air Force is leading aircraftman Jared Cranswick. We warmly welcome the family of Acting Corporal Arnold Joseph Pike, whose story will be told shortly. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria and RSL Queensland, who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by family and visitors to the memorial. Please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn their loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the hearts of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and operations for more than a century. But first we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Acting Corporal Arnold Joseph Pike. Arnold Pike was born on the 15th of June 1902 in Murray Bridge, South Australia, the son of Joseph and Martha Pike. He and his siblings attended the local school, and he went on to work as an agriculturalist. Around 1927, he married Ethel Rawson, and the couple would eventually have 3 sons, Jeffrey, Rodney, and Donald. The Pike family was heavily involved in the Methodist Church. Arnold was secretary of the church social club. He and Ethel were members of the choir, and Ethel taught Sunday school. A year after marrying, Arnold and Ethel Pike moved to Gawler, about 40 kilometres north of Adelaide. Ethel became president of the Gawler's Women's Temperance Union, and Arnold maintained his links with the church. Arnold also had some military experience, having been a member of the Citizens Forces, a part-time voluntary militia force. In June 1940, Arnold enlisted for service in the Second World War, passing his medical examination on his 38th birthday. Private Pike reported for duty on the 22nd of June 1940 and soon marched out to Woodside Camp, the nursery for 3 South Australian battalions, 2nd 10th, 2nd 43rd and 2nd 48th. Pike suffered from a fractured foot bone in early July while training, but was back in action with his unit by the end of the month. Not long afterwards, he was given pre-embarkation leave, spending time with his wife and children before leaving Australia for overseas service. After a train trip to Melbourne on the 29th of December 1940, Arnold Pike embarked for the Middle East as part of the 2nd 43rd Battalion. The battalion arrived at Egypt at the end of January 1941. Disembarking at Port Tewfik, the port of Suez, he travelled by train to Palestine. Southern Palestine was being used as a base for the Australians, and the 2nd 43rd went into camp at Qasa, north of Gaza. Pike was taken to hospital with an eye complaint in mid-February, but was back with his unit in early March. At this time, the 9th Division was brought to Libya, to garrison the area east of Tobruk. The division did not have enough vehicles to bring all its units forward to Benghazi, so the 24th Brigade, of which the 2nd 43rd Battalion was part, remained in Tobruk. The situation quickly changed in April. The German Afrika Corps, leading an Axis counterattack, pushed the British from El Agheila, and the 9th Division withdrew to Tobruk. The division and the 18th Brigade defended the fortress for the next 6 months. The 2nd 43rd participated in the usual pattern of defensive duties, manning parts of the Red Line, working on the Blue Line, and aggressively patrolling no man's land. The Red Line was a series of concrete pillboxes forming a semicircle around Tobruk. It was the town's outer line of defence, while the Blue Line was the second line. Pike was appointed acting Lance Corporal on the 19th of June, and on the 11th of July was promoted to acting corporal. In late July, a plan was developed for an attack on the German and Italian troops holding positions to the south. 0 hour for attack was 3:30 a.m. on the 3rd of August. While the attack proved unsuccessful, the battalion's war diary records that it was noteworthy for the way in which the men, regardless of casualties, moved forward, determined to come to grips with and defeat the enemy. Despite heavy casualties, one observer remarked, "They moved on as though they were on a tactical exercise." Amongst the dead was Arnold Pike, who was 39 years old, survived by his wife and 3 sons. Today, his remains lie in Tobruk War Cemetery under the inscription, "He gave his life for his loved ones. Greater love hath no man." His name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my left, among almost 40,000 Australians who died while serving in the Second World War. His photograph is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Acting Corporal Arnold Joseph Pike, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in hope for a better world.
Please stand for the ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall not grow old, as we are left to grow old. Age will not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozieres or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the last post ceremony. Thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial, and we wish you all a very good evening.